Hey, hello friends. Thank you for joining me again. Let me get everything set up and going in the right direction here. Hello, my name's Dan. This is Daily Art Adventure number 849. That is correct. I've done 848 of these already. I'm calling this one Final White and Light Acrylic Layer, which means I'm giving myself permission to use light colored opaque colors if I so choose, which is a slight variation in my normal routine. In the acrylic stage, my tradition is that all the whites, everything that's light is white, is painted in white, and then glazes are put on top of those white bits. Does that make sense? So that means that if I follow that routine, then that means that all of the colors in my painting are transparent. All the colors are transparent, and that is indeed where I think that's where the magic of my technique, if I have one, if there is any magic, it is in the fact that my colors are transparent. Boy, sometimes I have a hard time talking and painting at the same time. That was one of those times right there. So let me tell you a little bit about where I've been with this painting. This whole painting is an exception to the rule in a couple different ways. An exception to what rule? An exception to my normal practice. I'll explain in what ways do I mean that. Okay. And if you watched my last broadcast earlier this afternoon, then you heard me already talk some about it. So exception to the rule number one is that I did a grid. There's my photograph you see down there. Hello, Uncle 60. Yeah, good. Godzilla's a lot more fun than me. And I'm sorry, I'm at one of those, again, having a hard time talking and painting at the same time. Now, all of a sudden, just having done this much, it dawns on me, you know what, this may not be my final acrylic layer. If I end up with too much light or white in this layer, then I will almost certainly come back and do yet another layer of glazes and then more white. So I may be falsely advertising when I called this the final white layer. Okay, but I was starting to tell you how this particular painting is the exception to the rule. Number one, because I started with a grid. And there, you've stared at that long enough. There you go. Thank you, Barbara. And this is the second painting I've done, second painting in a row, where I started with a grid. So that's kind of funny. I mean, maybe. You never know when something like that might turn into a new method. You just never know. I don't think that's going to happen, but anyway. I used a grid because the painting is fairly large and the detail is quite extreme. And so it was just easier to grid it out rather than try to draw it freehand. So that's the first exception. Then, as you can already perhaps see, and this would only be you old-timers, you regulars, the painting is quite detailed, tight, accurate, realistic. The drawing, perhaps I should call it the drawing. So that's different from my normal. I'm usually more of a throw paint around. My objective is always to be an accurate drawer, but I usually achieve accuracy through layers and layers and layers of drawing. And in both this painting and the one that I did last week, that was not the case. I made a mad dash to realism, so to speak. And you can see that reflected in this. All right, so boy, I'm taking forever to tell you this. Sorry about that. But I do want to tell you what the last couple of things that I've done then on this painting. After, and it took me a lot longer than I thought. That's why I didn't broadcast this afternoon as I thought I would. I'm just glad I'm able to broadcast tonight. A couple hours at least to do that, to do all that drawing. I'm sure that's not a surprise to you. Just a lot of detail and going back and forth. And frankly, right now, I really wish I had a better photograph than this one. And look at this grip, would you? You are right to ridicule. Say, hey, I thought you said. I did. Okay, so here's what I did say just the other day. About 9 out of 10 paintings, the only time I hold my brush in that manner is to do the signature, and that is still true. But so that means that this painting right here is evidently an exception to the rule, because you just saw me use the death control grip. So after finishing the drawing then for 2 hours, lots of pencil, lots of white, and lots of opaque color. Then the next thing I did is I repainted, let me pull this out of the way for a minute, I redid the abstract, and that's what you can see are these marks going right in front of, on top of my careful drawing. Red and white and yellow here, green here, red and white here, green, yellow. So I was not timid about it. I really threw some paint around and did an extra layer of so sorry, a piece of that last almond went down the wrong pipe. And then after the abstract layer, then the last thing I did was, sorry, I can't talk right now. The last thing I did, can I whisper if I can't talk? Can you? Yeah, but Mr. Dan, can you whisper? Well, we're going to find out here all together. The last thing I did was glazes. Phthalo blue, purple violet, quinacridone magenta, yellow, orange, yellow, and green. So that's what you see is a very careful drawing with abstract marks slapped on top of it, and then colored glazes over the whole thing. So I am frankly in a significantly different place than my normal. And that's kind of fun. It reminds me of what I call the donut of creativity. Sounds weird, but when I describe it to you, I think you'll see it's a helpful way to think about. There is a kind of creativity that is good and helpful and productive, and there is a kind of creativity that is almost, I won't say no good, but it's almost no good and not productive, not helpful, right? And again, it'll be easy to describe. Here it is. If you don't have enough creativity, I'll start at this end of the spectrum. So if you're too narrow, by that I mean if you have a routine in your painting and you do exactly the same thing in every single painting, then that's not a guarantee that you're not creative enough, but it's a distinct possibility. Okay? So let me say that again. If you have a formula, ABC 1, 2, 3, and you always do exactly the same thing in your paintings, then you might be stuck in a rut, or in this case, stuck in the hole of the donut. In other words, you miss the donut. You don't get any delicious glazed chocolate, maple, whatever flavored donut you want to make it. You don't get any donut because you're in the hole. Okay? Likewise, there's another kind of creativity that is of very, very little value. And that is creativity that's untethered, unconnected to any formula, routine, innate knowledge that you have by practice. Let me see if I can think of a silly example. So let's just imagine that tomorrow morning I get out of bed and I've been painting very much a certain way, for the most part, for the last 15 and a half years. So let's imagine that tomorrow morning I wake up from some crazy dream and say, you know what? To heck with this. To heck with this layers of acrylics. Whatever made me think that was a good idea? That's stupid. I've had it with layers of acrylics and all this layers. Dan Nelson, this painting by layers and layers, what a waste of time. That's just stupid. Okay, so let's pretend that I decide to get really creative starting tomorrow. And I'm going to paint with ground up tortoise shells mixed in a bucket of concrete in my backyard. And I'm going to achieve color by throwing different kinds of flowers in the concrete with the tortoise shells. And I'm going to stand on my deck and put a toboggan, like a sled that you go downhill in the snow, on the ground beneath me, and I'm going to drop plops and blops of, I'm making this up, this is completely stupid, but forgive me, of colored concrete and tortoise shells onto a toboggan, and then I'm going to, well, let's just finish it with a dead rat. And okay, so right at the moment I'm sounding like somebody earning their MFA. Am I not? I am. I'm sounding exactly like somebody getting their Master of Fine Arts degree. Those of you who don't know that world, trust me, what I just described to you. So anyway, okay, so I'm being very absurd, of course, but that kind of creativity, the scenario I just described to you, is what I call untethered. it's not tied down to any kind of previous experience or reality. It's just, it's way, 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 way outside the bounds of my experience. And that's the kind of creativity that misses the donut, that's outside the donut. Okay? So there is a kind of creativity that is helpful, and it's the donut. It's not you're so much stuck in a rut that you never do anything new. That's bad. And it's not so ridiculously absurd and off the wall that you have no real in your hands experience of what you're doing. Your brain can come up with all kinds of crazy, stupid things like I just did. Crazy and stupid, I might add. Anyway, so the sweet spot in creativity is when you try a new thing, it's related in some way or some ways to previous experience. That's just helpful. Now, you might not know why that's helpful. I'll give you a bit of practical right now. And this is a very unscientific number, so you can't hold me to it, but I would guess that somewhere around 75 or 80% of all the artwork being done in all the art departments in all the universities, not high schools, no. All the universities in the Western world falls into the latter category. It's a bunch of lost, aesthetically lost, philosophically lost experience, lacking experience and skill. Now, why am I being so mean? Well, because I honestly have a concern and compassion for those students. And in fact, I was one once. And again, not to be mean, but to be instructive, especially if there's ever any young person listening to me. Don't follow my path. Don't do what I did. My college art education was a virtual black hole of creativity. Now, that doesn't mean I wasn't creative. Oh, no. Like everybody else in college, I was extremely creative. That was the problem. I missed the donut of creativity. And it literally took me years and years to recover from a poor college art experience. And alas, I've said this enough times that I know that my experience was by no means unique. And I don't hate modern art. That would be foolish. But I do think I understand it. In fact, I think I understand it. You'll love this. I think I understand it better than most of the professors who are teaching it. Because most of them are sheep, and they do what they do because they're following the crowd. You can tell they're following the crowd because of what they do. And frankly, most of them are not gifted at history or philosophy. Some are, don't get me wrong, but not most. Most art professors do what they do because it's what they were taught when they were. Okay, while I'm being mean and nasty, let's just finish out here. I don't know if you know this or not, and I really hope no professors are listening to me right now. But you understand, don't you, that most art professors, they are art professors because they couldn't make money with their art in the real world. They weren't good enough, so they had to get an MFA, get enough letters behind their name so they could get a job teaching. And if you tell anybody I said that, I will deny everything. That's just a little secret between you and me. Let's just leave it right there. It makes me a little bit sad, but it's true anyway. All right, I just mixed up a little bit of pale green because this part of this building right here is distinctively green. Right, so the donut of creativity. So I might be wrong, of course. I might be wrong about everything. I rarely admit that. I don't say these things because I know that I'm right. All of my ideas, my close friends, by the way, who live near me, know this about me because I say it all the time. I'll share an idea, a concept with them, and I say, no, this idea is just half-baked. It's a half-baked idea, but I invite you to bake it with me, to finish baking. And that's really what I do with everything I share with you guys. It's like, well, here's an idea. What do you think of this? And of course, some people, every once in a while, somebody really takes offense to what I say, and I do feel bad about that. But I'm not going to stop musing. So I'm hoping, so what I'm doing right tonight, the reason this came up is because I'm doing something different from my normal, which is encouraging because that, for me, at the moment, I think my career, I'm more in danger of, oh, no, I was going to say I'm more in danger of being inside the hole of the donut, but no, even as I start to say it, I go, nah, not really. I don't think so. And again, I don't want to talk. I'm not interested in talking about myself. I'm just using myself as an example to teach others, especially if there's ever any young people, young artists listening. I always have a heart, a mind, a thought for young artists. So there you go. For what it's worth, avoid the hit the donut, not the hole, not outside the donut. Just a little bit creative. I could have just said a little bit creative, couldn't I? And saved all that talking. Heck, that wouldn't have been nearly as fun. And boy, I really am painting in a different manner, I tell you. I mean, other than the last painting that I did, which was another long skyline, I hardly ever paint this way. What way? Tight. So I'm thinking to myself, I want you to think with me. It's like, oh man, look at here, I am holding the brush again in that death control grip. I had better not stay. Here's what I think is going to happen. Okay, and it's kind of what happened last week on the other one. Hang on. I'm thinking right now that all, quote unquote, all of the careful drawing and detail on this painting will be done in the acrylic stages. And that when I graduate to, I know I'm backed up pretty far. Okay, I'll move you guys, so hopefully I'll remember to get you out of my way when I move to another part of the painting. I mean, look at these small brushes. This is just ridiculous. I'm having a real crisis here, in case you can't tell. Okay, I have here a real specific teaching point, a very, very particular, because I'm doing it right now. Sorry, I just kicked you around. All right, this building has, however many stories that is. Whenever I have a pattern like this, in a painting, or like a picket fence, or the railing on a porch railing, right? A repeated pattern like that. In the underpainting stages, I don't usually make much of an attempt to get exactly the right number or the right density, if you will. That's normal. But here's the funny part. In the subsequent layers, as you can see here, maybe, I don't make much attempt to trace the earlier marks, to make these marks line up with the old ones. In fact, they don't. So, for instance, you can see these are blue and orange stripes, right? Orange at the top, then let me count. I'll just count the orange ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll call it 10. And I'm going to paint those again right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So now I've got 16. So I made quite a big adjustment to the spacing of those lines. Does that make sense? And if I may be so bold, I'm going to assume that if you're thinking, you're going, well, that's crazy. And it is. The same thing will happen in the next layer when I'm in oils and I'm drawing all of this yet again one more time. I won't. It's only the very final layer, the very, very, very last layer, that I try to make it exactly the right to match the building, if you will, or to look like the building. Which means, just like what happened right there, the underpainting, the overpainting doesn't line up with the underpainting, and vice versa. Isn't that crazy? And you would do well to say, I don't get it. Why do you do that? The answer is because I want interesting marks, and the marks are more interesting if there's a jitter, if there's a hit and miss. I get a moire pattern, really, frankly. What we're talking about here is I create, do you know what a moire, M-O-I-R-E? A moire pattern is what happens like when you lay two screens, window screens or something like that on top of each other, right? That's just one silly way to get a moire pattern. That's what I'm getting here. And in my opinion, it makes the whole drawing, if you will, painting more interesting, instead of making these lines always line up exactly correctly. Again, so I'm mentioning that because I think that's quite counterintuitive. While I'm at it, let me show you another thing that I do that is counterintuitive. I guess I'll do it here. Again, very often when I have a repeated pattern like that, I'll make a mark like that. And ergonomic stroke, by the way. But an intentionally erroneous set of lines. Isn't that crazy? I mean, again, you don't have to do that, but it's definitely a part of a regular part. Both of those things that I just mentioned are definitely a normal part of my painting repertoire. That is that I don't try to make the layers all line up. And the only one that matters as far as accuracy is the very last one. Here we go again. I've enjoyed using this gigantic palette knife. Of course, it's not a palette knife at all, as you can see. spackling blade, maybe is what it would be called. I don't know. Something like that's a, you know, a hardware tool, not an art tool. So I don't know if I finished a sentence a while ago. I'm very much thinking that because I'm doing so much tight and accurate drawing in the acrylic stage, I'm thinking then that in the oil stage, I'll be even more free to do abstract and non-representational marks. In other words, more interesting marks. I won't have to worry much at all because, in fact, even right now, the drawing per se is actually quite finished. I have a, oh, I might have taken my T-square, I took it back upstairs. Oh, darn. I need it right here in this building right now. So I feel like it's not quite vertical. I will check on that. I won't run upstairs and get it my T-square right now. And I usually have one right here with me, but I think it just got misplaced. I think it's same thing again. That represents, if you will, a bunch of windows, right? Anyway, my T-square got, the one that's normally here, got accidentally taken out to my car for plein air painting and didn't get back to this easel. So a clear indication that I need to buy another T-square. Very helpful tool. I approve of T-squares quite emphatically, especially if you're ever painting an ocean scene. I say to you, word to the wise, don't even try. It's just not worth it. It's to be able to boast inwardly, not that you wouldn't boast about it outwardly because it's such a silly thing, but inwardly you might be kind of proud of the fact that you did that horizon line completely by eye. Well, but it's not worth it. It's not worth the boast. Just don't do it. Just grab a T-square and draw a line right from the get-go, and then you know it's perfectly horizontal. Nothing will kill a seascape quicker than a horizon that's not quite, just a tiny bit off, perfectly horizontal. And it's amazing how well our eyes, well, you know, think about it. If you see a painting on your wall or somebody's wall that's not quite, how much off does it need to be for your eye to go, that painting's not straight, that picture on the wall is not straight? It doesn't take much at all, does it? Tiniest fraction. And it's the same thing here. Still not happy with the verticality of that building. That looks better. Anyway, is anybody saying anything? Yes, you guys are saying something. Oh my goodness, you're chatting up a storm. What am I saying? Yeah, Uncle, no, it's not an all-nighter. I'm going to join with my wife who's in the kitchen cooking cupcakes. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Sally, you quit plumbing, good for you. Hello. Boligno de Savete. Boligno, right? Boligno? Good to have you here. Sally asks how I like the grid. I don't, but I use it because it's a tool and it saves time and so on. Sorry, I'm just... Yeah, no, Aunt Nancy is not listening. She's ignoring me. Paint Biden's portrait. I would do it in a heartbeat. Oh, man. All right, I've seen most of your chats. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And most of them were not directed to me, of course. They were directed to each other. You newcomers. That's the way it is around here. I have a bunch of friends. They just talk to each other. They don't say much to me, which is fine, because I'm busy. All right, somebody asked a question and I promptly forgot what it was. Sally, was it you? No, it was about the grid. Oh, no, I was going to tell you about my wife cooking cupcakes. That sounds so funny. My wife has never been a baker. I'm surprised I haven't told you about this before. Because okay, settle down, sit back. I've got a story to tell you. My amazing wife is pretty amazing. You'll agree with me probably in a minute. And I'll make this short. If she told you the story, it would go on for an hour, and you'd be enraptured. But I'm not going to try and enrapture you. I'm just going to give you the bold strokes. Starting last September, this has been percolating in her heart, I'll put it that way, for several years. She just wasn't sure if she should really do it or not. Anyway, last September she said, Dan, would you make me a sign that I could put around my neck that says Free Mom? So I did. So I made it. Then I changed it later. It said Free Mom Nancy. Okay? Laminated it, because I got all the tools to do all kind of stuff. Made her a sign that says Free Mom Nancy. And starting at the beginning of the school year, in September of last year, she went down to the student center, outside the student center at NC State University, with a Free Mom sign around her neck. And she started giving out pound cake, which was delicious. I've had just a few pieces of it over the months. And she has a business. I made her a business card. It says Nancy Nelson cheering you on, and it has her phone number on it. And she goes down there to NC State, North Carolina State University, every Wednesday afternoon, generally from about 1 until 5. Stands mostly outside the student center and gives free hugs, free cake or cupcakes, as the case may be, gives her business card away, and changes lives, frankly. That's what she does. She's just a free mom. Every week she comes home. So she's been doing this for however many months that is now, 6 months. Winter break, Christmas break, she wasn't there, of course, but went back just as soon as school came back in session. And she has hundreds of kids that come by every single Wednesday, look for her, want a piece of her. She's up to, I think she said, 8 dozen cupcakes, and plus, I don't know how many pound cakes, is bun cake, anyway, some kind of cake with a hole in the middle, And they are delicious. They really are good. She doesn't take store-bought cakes down there. So she hands out hundreds of pieces of cake and cupcakes, hugs people. Kids cry. Every single week, somebody's crying. I just can't believe, blah, blah, blah. One young man from India. A lot of international students, a lot of international students. Young man from India said, my mom died 7 years ago and I haven't had a hug. In 7 years. We've had a couple of them. In fact, two of the Indian young men have been in our home for meals. One of them's coming back again this week, this Sunday. Anyway, so she's in the kitchen right now. That's why she's in the kitchen right now, making cupcakes, of which I will not get a single one. I love it. I love her. She is amazing. She is a world changer. She's pretty passionate about it, to say the least. She is a perfect surrogate, adopted, whatever, mom for hundreds of kids. It's been pretty interesting. She has one girl on her radar. She has to communicate with this girl very, very carefully, gingerly, carefully, because Nancy's convinced, and I am too, that she's being trafficked. The girl is, and she's in danger, and her dominator controls her life and controls her phone. Anyway, so just all kinds of opportunities to make the world a better place. Heck, all I do is stay home and paint pretty pictures. You better step it up, Mr. Nelson. My wife's leaving me in the dust. Well, I'm having fun anyway. So what do you think? Am I still in? My wife is amazing, Barbara. You're exactly right, Sally. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Illyria, you go, girl. You go, girl. Wear it again. Wear it some more. Let me back up just for a second so you can see what the painting looks like, kinda. Yeah. Thank you, Illyria. I certainly try to bring joy. And I do, to 8 people. Uncle, Barbara, Sally, you know who you are, Jane. That's all right. I do not have a complex much. If the Lord wants 1 million people to watch my videos, we'll just have to work that out. If I decide to start doing something different, I'll let you know. In the meantime, we are having fun, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm having fun, and I guess some of you are too. All right, and I've been talking, which is a good thing because my painting has been pretty slow and boring. But I think I'm going to bid you a fond adieu. I think that if my ears are right, I think the cupcakes are in the oven. My wife and I might sit down, watch the election returns. That's a nice romantic activity, don't you think? I have my doubts. Anyway, because all I'm going to do here is more and more and more of the same. So again, some summary here of what I'm doing. I really am in virgin territory here. This is not quite the way I normally paint. It looks, I imagine it looks as though I've thrown out the window all my years and years of ranting about interesting marks. But that really is not true. I am still interested in interesting marks. Now, having said that, again, what I'm doing right now is way tighter than my normal, especially in the acrylic stages, which I think will free me up in the oil painting stage layers to be more free, because the drawing's all done, you see. But anyway, I am still actually focused to a significant degree on making energetic or interesting marks. It's just within a narrower spectrum. It's like the energy is dialed down in the service of realism, right, of accurate drawing. So it's a relative statement. The energetic marks or the interesting marks is relative, and certainly the energy is diminished, again, for the sake of realism. But I think that will change significantly in the future layers. One thing I'll mention just for fun, because I'm aware of it, is that I did an extra abstract layer, right, late in the acrylic process. That's like marks. There's a whole bunch of them, all these big marks. You see them. Look at this big red thing right there. It has nothing to do with anything realistically. It's not representational. And I am, of course, as I go along painting this white layer, I'm deciding how much of that to retain and how much of it to cover up. I know my head's probably new, right, gang? So for instance, I left a gap in the white right there because of this yellow mark. And you can see it there, and I also left it there. So those choices to leave a gap there and there because of that yellow mark is very intentional, and I'll probably continue along those lines. I certainly don't want to cover up all the if you will, delicious abstract marks that I made. So in a very specific way, that's me creating interesting marks by not slavishly painting a realistic image, right? The realism, even in that little way, the realism gives way to those abstract marks. All right. Well, I thank you for your company, but I do think I'm going to call it a night. No, it's not going to be an all-nighter. And I'm fairly happy with it. It's always nice to stop painting, quit painting while you're still happy with what's going on. And I think that's what I'm going to do here tonight. Because then when I get out of bed in the morning, I will bounce out of bed with an excitement about, oh boy, I get to go and paint some more. So I'm going to do, again, white and a little bit of opaque stuff here and there, probably orange and blue. I think this side of this building needs to be a little paler, so I'll do some pale blue in here and here probably. Anyway, and after that's done, then the very next thing will be oil glazes, different colors over the whole thing. And then I just finish from there. And it shouldn't, the oils, oh, but I'm sorry, let me back up and tell you, I'm going to finish this painting actually on Saturday night at a fundraiser for the Visual Art Exchange. That's the biggest arts organization in town. I used to be on the board many years ago. For several years, 4 or 5 years, I was on the board of this arts organization. And I've painted for their fundraisers every year, nearly every year. Missed one because I was sick. Every year for 15 or more years. So I've donated an awful lot of money. This year I'm retaining 50%, which I'm excited about. And so I'm going to donate half of this painting. But it'll be a live auction. They bring in a professional auctioneer. I'll talk more about this later, but it's a very interesting night. They've already emailed. Let me move you guys down so I don't have to look up it quite so much. They sent an email out last week showing all the paintings that were going to be a part of the live auction. Like 100 paintings or 80, no, 60 paintings maybe for the live auction and 200 paintings for a silent auction. This painting will probably be the only, well, certainly in the live auction, it's the only representational, almost the only representational piece, and the only beautiful representation, if I can just be blunt. It's the only beautiful painting that will be auctioned off possibly the whole night. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting philosophical subject. So this organization has just, that's the route they've decided to take in the last 15 years. They want to capture the cool, groovy, with it art market, which is also the market that nobody can make any money at unless you get a big break into New York, which one of them has. Anyway, so interesting. That's all I'm going to say about it right now. But every year it gets a little more and more and more extreme, my paintings and all the others. And this year it will be even more so, because normally I'm sorry, I'm just rambling, but normally I go to this event and I start and finish. Last year I started and finished a painting this size. Got there, started painting at maybe 5 o'clock and finished by 8:30. So of course the paintings aren't quite as finished as this. So this year I hope to be this painting to be significantly a significant upgrade from all my previous paintings that I've donated, and I hope it auctions off for a good price. We will find out. It's clearly, as you can tell from my description, it's clearly not my normal market, my normal audience. Get it? All right. Anyway, y'all go watch the elections or don't. Have a good night, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.